Dr. D, we good?
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Okay, everyone, it is 6 o'clock. We have a quorum. We're going to call to order the regular board meeting at this time. Tuscaloosa City Schools for April 5th, 2022. If we could observe a period of silence, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, if we can remember Mrs. Nanette Cannon and her family for the loss of her husband, Skip Cannon. Mrs. Cannon served as one of the first elected board members, and also the family of Mrs. Ann Louise Patterson and family. She lost her husband, Mr. Royce Patterson, who served as a coach, teacher, and principal in the Tuscaloosa City School System. So if we can remember those families, we'll have a short period of silence. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and for the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Okay, item number 3, may I have a motion to adopt the April 5th, 2022 regular board meeting agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? We will adopt this agenda as printed. Item number 4, approve the minutes of the March 1st, 2022 regular board meeting. The minutes of the March 7th, 2022 called board meeting, and the minutes of the March 22nd, 2022 regular board meeting. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Each of those minutes will be approved. Item number 5, recognize new National Board Certified Teachers. Dr. Derry, good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, board members. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to recognize NBCT. This has been on our agenda before. This is a big part of our strategic plan. Dr. Maxey is going to join me at the podium to help introduce this. But this board, you all have thanked and appreciated NBCT folks in the past. The only thing that's different this time is that we're adding 5 new incredible teachers to this group of accomplished teachers as demonstrated by NBCT. And Dr. Max is going to talk a little more about that and introduce our new NBCTs.
Thank you very much, Dr. Daria. Good evening, board members.
Good evening, sir.
As always, I want to apologize for using this moment at the microphone for doing a little educating. Just a little background here. As you probably know from your study, being a teacher is to participate in a very demanding profession. States certify teachers, but there's also an optional, a voluntary national certification that's available. This process is one of just 3 professional learning processes that are included in the National What Works Clearinghouse. And that is because there's such a rigorous standard for evaluating what works. In other words, the evidence clearly shows that students of National Board Certified Teachers learn more. It is a very rigorous process that is effective at elevating one's own practice. Since we have committed to this, I'm happy to report that 175 teachers have participated at some level with us. Some have not completed the process. At least 70 are currently candidates and are in the process now. The one thing I would request of you, and then I will honor our new NBCTs, is that when you speak to them in a minute, please be mindful of not only congratulating them for an achievement, but recognize that board certification is a commitment. And I've never been part of the military before, but I think we're all familiar with the concept of being a paratrooper. When you become a paratrooper, you earn your wings, and that event is something to celebrate. But the more important thing is who you become. You become something by going through the process, and you make a commitment from that time forward to serve at a level different than the level you have been serving. So we congratulate these teachers for being accomplished teachers and committing to continuing to be accomplished teachers. I want to invite two members of our district National Board leadership team. Stephanie Bristow is here with us, and Amber Emerson is here. And there's a tradition, when you become a National Board Certified Teacher, you are pinned by an NBCT as well. So we have 5 new NBCTs. One is on maternity leave and couldn't make it this evening, and one we don't see here, so we will ambush her later, but 3 of them are here. So I want to recognize in order. First, from the Alberta School of Performing Arts, Kishelle Watson. Next, someone who was at a different school when she went through the process at University Place, but has now joined the team at Arcadia, Shalonda Reed. And the third person who is here with us tonight from Central High School, Joy Jones. And not with us tonight, those 2 individuals are from the Alberta School of Performing Arts, Maria Makarov, and I have just, Woodland Forest, Lindley Morton. So again, our congratulations to these 5 individuals who are our latest board certified teachers. You shouldn't leave yet. I'm pretty sure the board members will want to talk to you, Ms. Jones. It ain't that easy. No, you got it. All right, stay one or 2 more minutes. And she has to be somewhere, so if you've got anything to say, I stole your time, and I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say, this is a very outstanding program, and for you teachers to go over and beyond your regular duties to become a national certified teacher is just outstanding for you and our system, and how much each of you all care for our children. In one of my many trips to DC, advocating for schools and stuff, I got to the Capitol and I was over here advocating in this way. And I looked to my left, and lo and behold, who do I see all the way in Washington, D.C., advocating for the national certified students, teachers, and Mr. Maxey. Now, we appreciate you all, but I really appreciate you looking at our system and understanding that to have a program like this helps move us over and beyond regular school systems to make us be outstanding and standing out. And I think, are we still leading the state?
We were recognized as a school of distinction by the National Board.
Right. And so we appreciate you also, and thank you for all the hard work you're putting in, and each of you teachers. Thank you very, very much.
Dr. Maxey, thank you, and congratulations, and couldn't say it better than Mr. Lucas. Congratulations, and thank you for what you do for the system and for the kids. Keep going forward, above and beyond, and onwards and upwards. So thank you. And you're welcome to stay, or you can. Okay, item number 6, recognize AHSAA State Wrestling Champions. Woo woo. Dr. Darius.
Mr.
Coach
Chairman,
Hurd.
board members, I may be wrong on this one, but I'm not sure. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But this may be the first time this has been on our agenda to recognize wrestling. So Mr. Hurd is going to make his way to the podium. He's going to introduce Coach Love, who will then introduce some students who brought some trophies home. Coach Hurd.
Good evening, board members. It is truly an honor to stand before you because typically when I'm here, we're recognizing some great coaches and some great student athletes. And one thing that we're trying to do is to win in everything. And winning to me means academics, character, as well as athletics. And it seems as though all of our programs are stepping up to the plate and are successful. And first and foremost, I really want to thank our parents who always support the district, the administrators, the teachers, the coaches, and of course the student athletes. And without it being everybody supporting this village, we could not be successful. This is history. This is, from my understanding, this is the first time we've recognized wrestling and had a medalist and a state champion in wrestling. At Northridge High School, Coach Edward Love has done a great job. He has some student athletes here who have achieved, and I'm going to step aside and let him introduce himself, say a few words, and introduce the student athletes who are so successful here in Tuscaloosa City.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Thank you, board members. I'm so proud of what our wrestlers accomplished this year. Like Mr. Hurd said, this is the first time we've had medalists or state champions. And that speaks to what they did, because at other schools that have had tradition, those wrestlers each year are able to look at, you know, these people have done this before, so I can do it. I can see the path. These wrestlers were able to see it without having people have done it before. They blazed the trail. Jay was a big part of that leadership. His leadership really created something special with the team this year. And so Jay was our first state champion in, like we said, in Tuscaloosa City Schools history. And then Elizabeth in the second ever women's wrestling state championships. The first year that Northridge has, or Tuscaloosa City has had a women's team, she was a medalist. And so, you know, that's trailblazing to the pinnacle. And then we had Donnie Burnett, and Donnie was actually the first placer in history for Tuscaloosa City because he was in a weight class before Jay. So Donnie is the actual first medalist. So what they've done was really special, and I could see as the year was going, you know, that how the team was growing and really something special was happening. And you know, like I said, it all comes from the leadership of this guy right here.
I want to thank Coach Love and my parents. You know, they're my support team, and I really couldn't do this without them. Because
Jay, can you
Jay, a
speak
little
up
louder,
just
a little louder, buddy.
you know, I want to thank Coach Love and my parents because I really can't do it without them. You know, all them times getting up, 6, 7 in the morning, driving me to God knows where to go wrestle in a tournament all day, and not being able to come home till 10:30, 11 on the weekends. Spending their time, and just being there for me. And the team, they always there. Made it fun my last year. So when I come back next year, hopefully they'll be doing great things. I have all my trust in them, putting it all in them.
And Jay, tell them you were inducted into which honor society this weekend?
Science and more alpha theta, some math.
So that was an and, not one. That was an and. Thank you, Jay.
Hey, and Jay, real quick. So tell us about your championship match and, well, how it went down.
Yeah, it was a guy I hadn't really wrestled before, and it was a big match going into it because we were both ranked. He was the number one seed coming out of the North, and I was the third seed coming out of the South. And I had a tough bracket in sectionals, and I placed third, and I think I got a pretty good seeding. And so going into state, I was like one match at a time, just wrestle all the time, and I made it to the final. And I hadn't wrestled before, and he had a unique style. He was really good and technical, so I had to go in focused and do what I needed to do, and went in overtime. So I had to go in there and handle business and do what needed to be done.
How many matches did you have to win at state to win the state championship?
I had to win 4 back-to-back.
Wow.
Wow.
Hey, Jay, are you related to Aubrey? Mr. Tucson? Is that your grandpa? Wow. I see where you get your smarts. Definitely not your good looks, but you know.
And I was sitting here looking at Moore. I said, I know this baby. Jay, do you remember me? From baseball? Yes. This little Jay and this Morgan. And so congratulations to you all. Big round of applause to you parents, because Jay been keeping his parents busy a long time. And I can't believe he's gotten so big. But congratulations to you all. Keep up the great work. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I also wanted to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, keep going. I want to hear from the others, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Elizabeth. If you would like.
Bring the mic down.
Speech.
I mean, I don't really know what to say, but wrestling has been a great experience for me, and I'm so glad I joined the team. It's really been a gateway to so many great experiences throughout this season. So,
How did your matches go? How did your matches go? Were you ever worried?
I did. I had a tendency to sort of back off and whenever I got worried, especially at the start of tournaments. But as the day progressed, I was able to get more aggressive and follow what Coach had taught me. So.
Okay.
Fantastic. Did you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to thank all of these outstanding student athletes. The things that you had to overcome, the challenges to get to where you are, and I know there were challenges just because to reach the level that you did, there must be. And I'm just so proud of you guys representing your school, and I just think you're all really amazing. I want to thank Coach Love also for putting in your time and to quote, and the dedication that you've shown as well. And again, to piggyback off of what Erica said, none of this can happen without the support of the kids' parents, so thank you all for that as well.
Donnie?
See, you thought you was gonna get away. I saw you.
I would really like to thank my mom, my brothers for picking me up after every single practice, taking me to extra practices with Tech Fall and other clubs, and doing everything for me. It was a really good experience for my time wrestling.
So, what grade are you?
Oh, wow.
So, looking for 3 more years of this, okay? Looking for you to come back. Me and Mr. Hurd, who did he beat? What school was it? Did he beat that school we went? They didn't go? Good. I'm so glad. We went up there and they had all these big old tall trophies and everything talking about it. I'm just so glad that you all brought it back to Tuscaloosa City Schools and the city of Tuscaloosa. Thank you. You make a big one like that.
And one last thing, Coach Hurd, thank you for taking TCS into these sports that, you know, are not as well known as other sports. And thank you to our athletes and students for being brave enough to be the trailblazers for this system in these sports. And you guys have now started a legacy that will be built upon. And Coach Love, thank you. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's not a sport that you see around here. And because of y'all and y'all's bravery and y'all's accomplishments, we're going to start building and building and building. So thank you, congratulations. And you too, we expect to see y'all here again next year. And Jay, congratulations, well done. Okay, athletes and parents, you certainly do not need to stay for the business portion.
Thank y'all for having me. Unless you want to, you can stay if you want to.
I can see.
Jay, you realize
Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Good job.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Tuesday, how you doing?
Hey, man. Congratulations. Good to see you as always.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Congratulations.
Okay, item 7 is public comments on non-agenda items. We have no one signed up, which takes us to item 8, informational reports from the superintendent. 8A1, receive update on Student and Family Resource Center. Dr. Daria.
Yes, sir. Board members, I'm going to give you just a very brief overview of a concept that we've talked about in previous work sessions. The Family Resource Center concept for what is now called Stillman Heights, where our STARS program is located. I want to first say thanks to you all for allowing us to kind of take a concept that we're not too sure of and work on it and try to take a concept and turn it into action. I think it speaks volumes of the risk and the innovation that this board is willing to take to move the needle of excellence for all students. The Family Resource Center we've talked about in concept is just this. Our vision is to be able to provide full wraparound services for our students and their families. As you know, our teachers do an amazing job, our counselors, our social workers do an amazing job during the school day. We see, as part of our theory of action, to move the needle and to really be that full service support, that not only do we need to support the student, the individual student with wraparound services, but be able to also serve the entire family so that we can be highly successful in meeting outcomes for all of our students. You see in this slide the pillars. This doesn't mean these are the services offered at the center. These are the pillars around which we plan to do the work. Some of this will be service-based, but those are our pillars of how we aim to serve our families. This is just a slide with quite frankly some clip art from the internet, but I put it here to give an idea of what really this place can become. At the start of our concept, we're talking about providing nonprofit agencies a place to reside and then provide services directly to our families and our students. And obviously, being in the center, that those funds can get turned into services. But we see that this thing can expand to even more of a community service center. So imagine if we had an enormous playground with lights. Imagine if we had a really well-done basketball court for outdoor use. This center is within walking distance for a lot of families, a lot of students. Imagine if this became a center where we could host adult education. Imagine if this became a center where youth sports could be housed out of, and what you saw here in wrestling can become an enormous thing if we had a youth wrestling program that fed into our middle schools and our high schools. So this slide really is more of a imagine what this thing can become. This isn't necessarily what we're proposing today, but ideally it can morph into something larger than simply a place where nonprofit agencies exist and serve our students. So it's more of what it can be. So what will this look like? We see this being operationalized through those items that you see in those bullets. This is how we see our families and our students accessing the agencies that are there for support, whether it's mental health supports, parenting support. It can come in multiple referrals, if you will, whether it's directly from the school as part of our hearing process, or a referral from social workers and counselors at the schools that identify a family that just needs additional support so that we can be strong in supporting the student and their family. So these are the different ways we see this being operationalized. So since our last meeting, these are just a couple of things to point out. Ms. Tesney Davis is our mental health coordinator. She has firmed herself in that role now, and Dr. Sherrod, who runs co-lead on this project, Ms. Davis is mental health supports. This is everything that's in the job description, if you will, from the State Department, but it's a bit different. We're approaching this in I think, a more robust way. So Ms. Davis is running point on a good bit of this. We're developing a family assessment mechanism so that when families come to us, there's a way for us to assess with specificity the needs so that we can be really intentional in supporting our families. We are working with a software provider to develop a case management system for our social workers that can also be used for case management at the center. We're working with TotalCom for branding. And quite frankly, we're talking with our partners still, who all is able to reside in this facility and, most importantly, provide direct services to our students and their families. Here's a change from our last time we talked. We are looking at not receiving the funds coming from the city, and we're deeply appreciative of the city contacting us and saying that they wanted to be a partner with the federal funds that were coming through the city. Mr. Ryan reviewed the MOU for us. Dr. Sherrod and Ms. Davis reviewed it, and the short of it is we're not sure we can comply with the spirit of what those regulations require. And that's not anything the city has done. It's just there are requirements in the federal regulations that we don't think fit or that we're not going to be able to comply with and be in compliance in the spirit. So we contacted the representatives of the city and thanked them. They'll still partner with us, just not with the funds. So we will go about this on a very limited budget. But we are optimistic that we're going to be able to take care of things. So that has been a bit of a change. On the left of this slide, you see the partners that Dr. Sherrod and Ms. Davis have secured as initial partners. These are the agencies that are ready to move in. Some of them want their keys now. They're ready. And I think that's exciting. And what you'll see is commonalities in these agencies. These are agencies that serve our students. Boys and Girls Club, they are ready to start a teenage center for Boys and Girls Club. A lot of Boys and Girls Club is elementary and a little bit of middle. So the idea of having a teenage up to high school Boys and Girls Club in our community is actually really exciting for us because there's not a big space for that. So that is what they were looking at doing there. And you see the other partners that will look at joining us. For example, one of the partners there, they will bring on a mental health therapist as part of their agreement with us, that if they can operate out of that building, they will have a therapist who will provide direct services for our students who are in the building, but also our families that are referred through the ways we talked about earlier. We are talking even with Habitat for Humanity. We think they can be a help for us in doing the renovation that we do not have funds for at this time. So we're excited about what's to come. And then the partners you see on the right, those are the ones that we think are important and that provide necessary services. We're just not at the point yet of saying they're ready to move in or we're ready but they're our next kind of phase 2, if you will. Won't spend too much time here, but this is the building. It's the upstairs of that building. It's the core area of the library that we kind of envision as the Welcome Center. and then the gym that will be used for after school, like Boys and Girls Club. And then the upstairs in the back is where the agencies will be housed. And you can kind of see in this map what that will look like. We do have funds set aside through the current capital plan to do the renovation for the gym and the library, and we will begin doing those now. And we can get a good bit of that renovation done. It's mostly flooring and paint. The upstairs is mostly flooring and paint. So we will be finding ways to get materials and then also labor to get that done, possibly through volunteer services with Habitat and other partnering agencies. So I just talked a little bit about the renovations. So that is a review again. We aim to be done with those somewhere in the summer is the goal. So now we also talked about what's the name of this? We've been calling it a bunch of different things. The Hub, a Family Resource Center, Stillman, we've called it a lot of different things. So working with TotalCom, this is what we propose as an actual name for the facility and a name for what goes on there. So New Heights, which gives a nod to the name of Stillman Heights. You see the stars there, which can represent the pillars that we talked about earlier, but also stars because Stars Academy is there. So we see this as a proposal maybe in the next board meeting for a name change for the facility, which will encompass New Heights, the Community Resource Center, but then certainly our alternative program that is there now. And I know this is clear from the beginning, but where we are most excited for urgency number one is our alternatives, our students who are there by placement will now, when we build this out the way we're thinking, they will have consistent, direct wraparound services for our students and their families. And that was priority one for us. Priority two comes in out of referrals and our HELP program and our HERE program. But our priority one is right now our students, in many ways that we identify needing services that we don't currently have, that will be there as part of a placement. So we're really excited by that. So my goal is to provide you a New Heights as the name in a future board meeting. These are our needs. Won't go through all of them, but like I said, we're starting something. We're not too, there's no real blueprint for us on how to do this extremely well. So we've got a good team working together, but we are seeking grants. We think there are multiple grant opportunities because you have multiple partners here. We'll have up to a dozen agencies partnering with us, as well as the university and other partners. So we think we're really ready for some really solid grant opportunities. We still need a research-based mentoring program. I think we need a strong mentoring program in our community. And then some other funding needs, case managers, customer service representative, materials and supplies. We've got some ideas for landscaping in the exterior. So those are some future needs. And our next steps, we aim to move in our next group of partners in the spring, possibly in the summer, work on grants, seek funding, and then Mr. Ryan will work with Dr. Sherrod and Ms. Davis on identifying our MOU that we'll be bringing back to you all for approval. So we have one now that's in draft form. We'll ideally use that same memorandum of understanding for each of the partners, and it will lay out what the role of the partner is and what the role of the school system is. Financially, our goal is for the partner agencies being able to provide fees for all of the services they need, right? So electricity, contribution to all the utilities, internet, we're working with our technology team on how to best do that. So there are bumps along the way. We just think this work is really worth it. And I'm going to end the way I started and saying thank you to you all for letting us explore this. When we started it, we weren't really sure, and still in some ways not sure what the outcome will be, but we believe it's the right work, and we believe we have a lot of really incredible partners in this community that are committed to the same thing that you as a board are committed to. So that is our update for this Community Resource Center, possibly called New Heights.
Start to my right. Any questions for Dr. D?
Oh, I'm excited. It sounds good.
Well, thank you.
Really good. The library and welcome center, will it just be to the people that come in for wraparound services, or will it be open to the public?
The question is whether or not it'll be open to the public. Right now, our primary focus is on our students and their families. That doesn't mean some of these agencies may not have individuals come in whom they're serving outside of our families, if you will, and that's okay, and we'll have mechanisms in place for that. But our priority is our students and their families at this point.
appreciate the way that in less than 2 years, we've taken this from a concept to a reality. Rod, your group, y'all did a great job working on it. Thanks for having the vision. You know, this is taking it, throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks and having something really stick. And I really like this. This is awesome.
Yeah,
This was fantastic.
Thank you all.
Thinking outside the box.
Thank you.
and laid out to the T, to explain, broke it down. I don't even have no questions. It's good. Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, thank everyone.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, item 8B1, receive overview in facilities, capital plan and highlights. Mr. Smith, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Board, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I have the pleasure to go over some of our highlights and capital plan information. First, we want to get started with our signs. We're at a point now where we're about to dig up dirt. We're about to get there. What will happen in April. I'm still looking for the correct date, working with the vendor and Night Signs. We did get an opportunity to get all our signs that were monocolor. Now they're all going to be color. And that was the hard work and support of Night Signs, working with another vendor. And that is at no charge to the district. Secondly, I want to go to Scotland. As of right now, we're 14 days behind. That will be made up through overtime, weekends, things of that nature. The good thing about all this, we have board joists. All the long lead items are still here. They came in early, so that will help. As of right now, we have an opportunity now to use a sanitary grinder because of foreseen issues that we think that may come up in the future. We did estimate that grinder would cost us a $20,000 to $50,000 change order. The information just came in today, the quote, which is $45,000, but we will be able to use contingency funds to cover the whole thing. And so, as of right now, that's where we are with that. Well, a grinder is actually a apparatus that when you're using the toilet, it actually flushes out. Instead of using the gravity fed, it's actually pushing and grinding it up and pushing it to the sewer.
Is that
yes.
because of low-lying surfaces? Or
Yes.
explain the reason for we using this in this site versus any other site we've done?
Let me go back. Well, I want to be very specific, so I'm going to allow Mr. Wiley to come up and kind of give you more details.
I can give you some explanation, I think. It was designed with a gravity system. But when we got in the field, there was not enough elevation when they uncovered that line, didn't have enough elevation to tie to that line or to tie this line in. And we believe this is the most economical way to get this line tied in, is with the pump grinder.
So, will it have any, I'm asking because I truly don't know, with the retention pond over there, are these correlated or directly related to each other? They're two different things.
Two different things.
Two different things. But I'm gonna go back, and he already know, and everybody know me. I hate change orders. You know, when we evaluated this, you know, and to say we're gonna do this, you know, we really appreciate the companies that's doing the work for us, looking at all aspects of what we're doing. I had no problem if you come to us from the very beginning and said, hey, because of this, we gotta do this. It's included, and we okay with it. I just hate change orders. I've hated change orders from the first time I got on the board. Now, I know you all might not, and this is something that just come up, and some change orders come up. But you know, I look at change orders as a low bidder being able to come up with a better way to make more money. That's how I look at it. And that's just because I am a steward of the Tuscaloosa City public people's money. And that's how I look at it. So we do appreciate, he know, I ain't saying nothing to you that I hadn't said in the past.
I
Ever since
assure
I got on
you,
board.
yeah.
You
I don't
know,
like standing up here and talking about change orders either.
you know, and you
It's
know,
no
you may be
fun.
saying $45,000 nothing, but I like when we say we're gonna do something from the beginning, to look at all aspects, because I go back to that school from the very beginning. If we had planned right from the very beginning, we wouldn't be adding classrooms now. Okay? So that's a whole big old change order. So do appreciate you coming up with a plan to make it work, but do remember, you know, people look at us and what we do to make sure that we're using the money properly. And, you know, a change order, I hate change orders.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Me too.
And when it all comes down to it, y'all, you know, for me, it's all about simplicity. We're talking 4 classrooms, and we already got a change order, almost 50 grand. I know nothing's never simple, but to me, 4 classrooms, and we already got a change order. That just doesn't, I don't get it. I mean, I just don't get it. So we just gotta do better.
So even when we say the overtime, is that calculated into the contingency? 'Cause people gonna
Yes,
have
sir.
to-
Yes, ma'am.
So the overtime
None-
on
None
us?
of that will cost the board any money. It's in their contract to do whatever it takes to finish on time.
Okay.
We get rain season now. It's gonna rain till we even further.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, as we move forward, these are some of the future projects that we've talked about before. We have roof repairs that's coming up. The bid is already done. We're going to assess that bid and bring it forth to the board. Branding schools. That's one of the opportunities we have to really mark our schools that we've talked about in the past as well. We have our vendors going out, speaking with principals, and to come up to Dr. Derry an example so he can recommend to the board a good way of doing it that really impacts and tells a story about the school. Also, we have athletic improvements. One of the biggest opportunities we have.
Do you mind if we hit you on the things as you go?
Oh, no problem.
So far as the branding, are we on the same company that we originally started with, or where are we? I know we had some little problems down the road.
Yeah, so we were initially in conversation with a gentleman who was actually doing work at Northridge, and we're now in conversation with Night Sign.
With Night Sign.
To look at.
And Night Signs actually did work in the athletic area at Northridge.
So we're gonna see what those proposals look like for us, Mr. Lucas.
But they're all in the comfortable range of the same amount of money, or more expensive, or what are
Yes,
we
sir.
looking at?
We're looking at each school would be around 65,000, and I think we can get a lot done for that.
We've got some priorities, like the school lobby, part of the hallway, and then potentially moving into the athletic component. I mean, ideally, we get into the athletic facilities with this same branding, and then go down to the middle schools. But we just want the funds we've got right now is really limited to just getting started at each of the 3 high schools.
And as we go to athletic improvement, that's one of the other opportunities we have with the district to forecast needs. We send all the information out to the principals and ADs. They're sending us back their priorities, and we're looking at those to establish a budget for them. This could be a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year project, but we want to make sure that their priorities are met. We didn't want to go out there and do it for them. We want to make sure that they had input into those changes. So once that's done, once we get numbers completed, we will send that to the superintendent to take further to the board.
And just one quick thing before we forget, with the branding, please make sure that everyone knows that, and I said it before, I don't want a falcon looking like a chicken.
Like
I
an
don't
owl
want
or
a jaguar looking like a kitty cat.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, sir.
we don't need the boosters to go out and doing their own thing on
Oh,
branding and
no, this
marketing.
is, yes.
We need
yes.
to be, we like to say, one sound, one voice, one band, one branding for each school.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we need to hold to. Because
Yes,
this is a huge investment for each of these schools. They have to do their part to hold up to it. It can't be no athletic director want to do one thing, the booster want to do another thing. you know, the tendency want to do another thing, bring it all in,
That is
line
correct.
them up.
Dr. Dare has honed that into me 100 times. Yes, sir. And we're going to, before we do anything, it will be vetted. So we're not just going to turn them loose. It'll be vetted so we can make good decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Next is our summer facilities planning. These are a lot of things that we do in the district every year. And one of the things we talked about before in the board is to have a plan and to do things systematically. We have gym floors. We're going to be doing our mill and high gym floors. Now, one of the opportunities that we do have going forward, we are going to go for bidding of our branding, of our screen and recoding and restoration. What that means is restoration is taking the floor all the way down. And so one of the goals we have now is to set a bid out to do that, because a restoration of any gym is close to between, depending on where the cost of the bid, $25,000 or more. So that's a big investment. And so you have to bid that out. So the only way to do that consistently is to have a bid. And one of the things we're doing right now, I'm setting that up to be bid out. And so we have recognized that we do have schools that this hasn't been done at all. So we're using this as an opportunity to continue that proactive program, is to do this in a timely fashion. So we did identify a new one school, that is Bryan High School. And then from there, we are going to identify others and make a plan with Mr. Duke and come up with the monies to pay for it. So that is a part of what we're doing as far as our athletic improvements. And so that has been identified, and we will use that opportunity to make those corrections. And so,
You know I'm sensitive about that.
sir?
You know I'm sensitive about that, because we done went from blue to green, from white to yellow on that floor.
Right.
Because, you know, it just, you know, we blue and white, how in the world we look like green and yellow?
And that, yes, sir.
And, you know, so make sure the company understand.
Yes, sir.
We walk out there and it's don't, you know, we gotta make sure it's gonna be blue and white.
Right. And when you do
And don't wanna hear, we ain't got time to get it fixed. Cause, you know, we done been down that road one time. We can't go down that road again.
Yes, sir. And just to explain what you're saying is that what we're doing is they'll go in, you'll have a diagram, you'll be able to see what you're going to get initially before you even do it. So that's the great opportunity for taking it all the way down. You actually start over on that floor. We also have parking lots. As you drive into a school, one of the things you see is the parking lot, curbing, things of that nature. So we do go out, identify some of the opportunities that we do have. We're going to impact those areas as well. Now, we do identify some schools, but based on budget and based on going with Mr. Duke, we are going to impact what we see. I think that that's very important, but we have to get that budget correct. And so going forward, that'll be a standard thing that we'll do. But we got to triage now. We got to go out and see these things and impact as we speak. Carpet cleaning is something that we do every summer. We had a bid for that as well. So to do it correctly, you bid it out, and we have our vendors already communicated, and they're going to be following with the principals to get their time set up as well. And that does include all area rugs and everything. Pressure washing. You've seen some examples of pressure washing that we've done already. Pressure washing is not permanent per se, but it is impactful when you see it. And so we want to make sure we make that impact. And so there are some opportunities in some schools where we can do that. They haven't been done in a while. We have been doing it in the past, but when you have a bid, you can put a budget with it, and you can have a plan that replicates itself, and you can impact whenever you see a need without worrying about going over the budget amount, or bid amount.
I will say the ones that I've seen that y'all have done is that really look good.
Yes, sir.
You know, so y'all, they've really done a good job. Got a long ways to go, but they've done a good job.
Yes, sir. We do have a good company.
That's already bid now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's bid out.
And they're doing well?
Yes, ma'am. They're at the bid. They're ready for me to turn them loose.
Good. So this is,
Some of it look like they just poured new concrete.
Yeah.
That's how good it looks.
they do,
Yeah.
I
They do a
noticed they
good
did a
job.
great job at Werner. So these 3 that you have here for the pressure washing, these are the ones that we're gonna do in the summer, and then in the fall, we'll do a few more, and
Yes.
is that, we
Yes,
just
we'll-
cycle through them all?
Yes, ma'am. And what we try to do is, you know, we don't just pressure wash just to pressure wash. We're looking for opportunities, like, for example, the football stadiums. You know, football is coming up, all those entrance areas, we want them looking good and consistently. So we might not do it every year, maybe every other year, but it'll never be in a position to where it just looks terrible and we're just doing it out of reaction. So we want to have a proactive approach to everything. That's the whole idea around this. So that's why we bid it out, and it gives us an opportunity to do just that. Lawn maintenance. We've been here before with lawn maintenance. We have our vendors. They're cutting 4 times a month. That's really has been really going really well. We're always looking for opportunities. There's always going to be opportunities, but our 3 contractors are doing a pretty good job. So I really thank them for that, and we're getting those results coming consistently. And this, I wanted to go back to this because this was one of the slides that we had before, and I wanted to follow up on what we did. We said we were going to repair that fence, and I wanted to let you all know that we did. You know, that tree had been there for a long time, you know, had mangled the fence and is on that corner, and so we got the tree down, and then we had to wait to get the fence repaired. So that fence is repaired. I think that area looks a lot better now. It's really making that area pop. Here, you know, as we go around, we look. A lot of times, you know, I've talked to Dr. Daria, if I see it, you see it. We try to see things and impact those things without work orders, without requests. So here's one of the opportunities that we had with Central High School. As you drove by, the sign looked a little worn, and this is a pillar area driving on 15th Street, so we got it painted, repainted. It really stands out in that area, and so we're very proud of that. Here, one of the other opportunities you'll see on your capital plan and the things that we're doing is our playgrounds. Playgrounds our kids are there. Sometimes they're forgotten. Okay, we can buy things, but a playground has to be maintained. So we're making sure we get mulch on our playgrounds. We have other playgrounds in the pipeline coming up, but I wanted to highlight these 2. We had Woodland Forest, we got Arcadia, and we got Central Elementary. These are a long time coming, and we're not using pine bark. We're using engineered mulch, which is a lot safer, ADA approved. So we really feel like our kids deserve the best. And along with Dr. Daria and Mr. Duke, they have given me a green light to make that happen. So as we go around these schools, and then from there, we'll have what we call maybe every other year, we're going back. You don't have to send a work order, you don't have to send an email, it's coming. And so we're going to have our vendors on that schedule as well. And then, that's it. I mean, we're very excited. We have a great team. You know, we're still growing, learning, you know, culture changing, and I'm really excited to move forward. So, yes, ma'am. You have any questions?
I was just letting you finish. I didn't see anything about, I know we talked about future projects, but like, the Bryant baseball field, could you give me like, not tonight, but just an update on?
When you say are you talking about, oh, okay. I've talked to the coach, just so you know. We purchased the dirt for them. We also purchased shovels and wheelbarrows. And what they're doing, they're using their team to actually take care of their field. One of the things we're also doing with our new contractor, Game Time, we're setting that up. That is a part of the contractor, the athletic program, is do what we call laser grading. Laser grading is actually going out, really taking that field, putting the dirt necessary, relining the bases, relining the home plate, and really bringing it up. And it costs a lot of money. Most people don't do it, but I think that I think we have other schools that we're looking to do that too, and that is also Central High School. So yes, but what they're doing now is a triage. They're actually going out there doing it themselves, repairing some things themselves, which is a great thing as well. So we gave them the tools to do that, and they're doing it. They have it. I just got a text today, email that said that it's there. So they are. I did talk to Coach Pecklove about that. So.
Okay, I just want to ask you for the, not tonight,
Yes,
some more
ma'am.
about that. And the bleachers, like, just me observing the different bleachers. I know, you know, we cleaning up, we getting ready for the summer, but some type of way to clean all the high school bleachers, like more regular on a deep clean. I know after the games they supposed to do X, Y, Z, but it's gum, they're black, they're nasty, you know, at times. But you know, they clean them up. But just spraying them down a little bit more, I don't know what can be done to just keep them, to get them cleaner, more than whatever the team or the coach have to do in the basketball gym. So that's a concern of mine still. Actually today I was at Bryan and just in the lawn area, you know, just different water seeking. I don't know what it is about Bryan, just water just sit in different places. And big children playing in it. I'm like, really? You know, but just those different areas in the courtyard, it might not seem big, but I think it's important just to look into that. Is Bryan, Eastwood, and Woodland Forest just some extra things that I've seen since I go out there. And I know them your schools more, but
Everybody.
yeah, I'm just saying.
Every
I'm just
one
saying.
of
I know
our
Marvin
schools.
be on the. He
These
be on the
are
ball.
all of our schools.
I know, but you be on the ball
These are
about.
all our schools.
But I just have observed those couple things moving forward.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
everything, I will say, all of the grass couldn't. I know I used to be fussing about the grass. Everything is looking better, a lot better. And I think this is a great idea that you broke it up. You know, so that is looking better. But those are the couple things I have concerns with. But great job.
I'd like to just kind of piggyback on a couple things she said. One thing when she was talking about the bleachers and everything too. Once we get through spending all this money doing all these things to beautify things, we got to come up with a plan to make sure that people have pride in the school. Because you wouldn't go, you know, I'm just being real. You wouldn't go throw chewing gum on your mama's front room floor. Why are you gonna throw them on our bleachers at our school? You won't drink your drink and just pour it all over the floor. You know, we need to have visualized trash cans, and we gotta come up with a way that people have pride about our schools, just like they have pride about themselves. Because we can spend money and throw it out the window continuously. But if you're gonna be just a little nasty person, it's gonna be a little nasty school. And I ain't, you know, I'm just being real, Doc. I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's the truth. We got to take more pride, and that starts with the people in the building. It starts with the children. Start with the parents telling the children how to do. You know, we got to take more pride, and because you know we just be throwing money away. We could do other things with some of that money. I'm gonna shut up.
I have, and I don't know exactly, but back to simple, the inside of that little area we talked about outside the library, it just looks lame, outside the, down by the library, that look enclosed.
From the courtyard?
Yes, that nothing.
We can, what we're gonna do is, when we do the pressure wash, but we're gonna have that, we'll look in there too.
So my other thing, and this is probably naive for you, and maybe for Dr. Derry, I'm just thinking about when we're saying branding, and I'm going back to West Lawn, when they talked about how they wanted the outside to look welcoming. With our new heights, do we have a plan on making that look just as welcoming when students pull up, even though Stars is there? I'm just asking, it ain't my baby, that's Dr. Sherrod and Dr. Tinsley's baby, so I'm just trying to throw some beauty, some color there for them.
We got a plan, but no budget. We're working on it. But that is definitely been in our discussions, because it's a welcoming center, and it needs to run that way. Yes, ma'am.
Welcome, look.
Sound like the city needs it. Since they can't get their money another way, they could be a sponsor to make that.
I just want to say how much I appreciate Night Signs going the extra mile and making sure that we got all of our digital signs in color at no extra cost. I think that's that's a really exciting development, and I appreciate them having done that for us.
Yep.
And I
Any-
just noticed you have on here pressure wash somewhere, and then we've got stripes. Striping, I'm pretty sure y'all gonna pressure wash first before stripes come out. I'm just saying,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that'll help the striper too, because you ain't have to, it's gonna look better when it's clean.
us women know something.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Excuse me, for Mr. Smith? All right, thank you, Mr. Smith, for your detailed presentation.
Mr. Smith, Leslie is a good, gardener. All us can go do the courtyard at the different
Sorry?
schools. Plant some plants at the courtyard.
I mean, I have to dig down into the dirt.
It's not a water, so it's gonna die anyway.
Item number 9, introductions of motions, resolutions for a first reading, of which there are none. Brings us to item 10, consent agenda items, of which there are none. Which brings us to item 11, regular agenda items for final adoption. 11A, approve superintendent's recommendation regarding changes in personnel. Dr. Cameron, good evening, sir.
Good evening. You have the superintendent's recommendations regarding changes in personnel. You also have a supplemental list. I will go through both lists with you, starting on page 1. You have 5 resignations, 1 return from a leave of absence, 1 request for a leave of absence, 1 5-day suspension of a certified personnel, 1 new certified personnel, 1 transfer of certified personnel, and 59 Summer Learning Academy contingent upon student enrollment, which carries us to the supplemental list. You have 3 resignations, 6 new certified personnel, 1 rehire of a certified personnel, 1 transfer of a certified personnel, 2 reassignments, 1 rehire of a support personnel, 3 part-time extended day tutors, 21 Summer Learning Academy contingent upon student enrollment, and 1 21-22 Eastwood Middle School athletic supplement.
Okay, board members, are there any set-asides for a separate vote? Any set-asides for a separate vote? Hearing none, board may have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Questions or discussion by number only, please?
Yes, I wanted to say 11 through 69 on the first list and 18 through, I guess 38 on the supplemental list. I'm just so thankful for these teachers. I know that they've had a long year and they've been working hard, and I appreciate they're willing to come back in the summer as well. Says a lot
I
about
concur.
them and about the TCS staff.
They are fantastic, our teachers and staff coming back and help in summer learning.
Any other questions or discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Those will be approved. Thank you, Dr. Cameron.
Thank you.
11B, discuss approve awarding leave time for COVID precautions training. Dr. Dario.
Yes, sir. Board members, this is an item that we touched upon a couple meetings ago. We have a group of employees that that are in between board-approved COVID leave policy adoptions from the first semester and the second semester. So that is around the November time. It's in your board report until the January time when the board approved a COVID leave option. We received guidance from Mr. Ryan. Our response is to be able to still try to do this and have individuals come to a COVID precautions training, which would be a prospective action. And if they do that in the future, that we would then award up to 5 days of personal leave equivalent to the number of days they had to take during that time. So if they had to take 3 of their sick leave time, that we would apply 3 personal leave days. This should take care of the individuals through the course of this year that were not in the board-approved COVID leave policies.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Derry. Board may have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second?
Motion, second. Any questions or discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? That will be approved. 11C, discuss approve 2022 Alabama State Board of Education English Language Arts textbook adoption. Dr. Pope, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Board. This year, we had to adopt ELA textbook for 22-23 school year, so full implementation for next year. Both programs, grades K through 5 and 6 through 12. We had the opportunity to start it in the fall of 21, and then in January, they were able to actually vet those programs and go through different trainings about those different programs. So we're bringing before you today, K through 5, the recommendation is CKLA, and 6 through 12 is HMH into literature. So going backwards, in CKLA, we had to go through the process of actually vetting the programs and making sure that we only had 2 programs we can choose from by the Literacy Task Force. That task force was deemed by the state of Alabama to support the Literacy Act, and that group had to actually vet a lot of programs. I think there were 8 programs we vetted, and we had to get a chance to look through them, and if they met the requirements for the science of reading, they were part of the Literacy Act's requirements. There were only 2 for grades K through 3. Therefore, those 2 programs were Open Court and CKLA. Our team looked at those, and the results ended up being very close. Actually, it was 223 responses, and it ended up being a vote of 1 difference. So one person actually voted and it was a tie at first, end up going to the CKLA. So the team, actually, we all talked about it, pulled the principals, assistant principals, and literacy coaches in, because we were not making a decision just based off of one person saying it, but we wanted to make sure we did a collective decision. And we all came to the commitment of we were going to go forward with CKLA as a team TCS. That, again, if we purchased off of the list, by the law, we cannot retain any student in TCS in 3rd grade, even if the law was delayed or if it was enforced. Based on that program being a 5 to 6 year program, we would have to utilize a program that was deemed following the science of reading. So CKLA was our adoption recommendation for grades K through 5. Any questions before I move to 6 through 12? I want to add one thing to it. There were some, if there were any sensitive topics, and I want to say this about CKLA, the team decided we looked at both programs, and we looked at what our district needed and making sure our students were successful, and the CKLA was stronger in the depth of knowledge for our students. We wanted to make sure our students were getting and receiving the exposure of the content and depth of knowledge of thinking required for them to be successful. Therefore, CKLA did that. However, if there were any sensitive topics, and there were 2 in 1st grade and 2nd grade, the vendors actually have a component that we could alternate that topic or stories, so there would be no anybody feeling uncomfortable teaching it or sitting in those classrooms. So we made sure that we were confident with clarity that we were providing the best resource for those students.
And who decides if it's a sensitive topic, and so we're going to go with this alternative? Who makes that decision? Based on what we did for the team, we looked at both of them. They were not swaying, but if there were a parent to say they didn't want their child to go through it, or if a teacher, we would do it that way. As a system,
If it comes to a point that we want to do it, we can also have the opportunity as well. But as of now, we have the opportunity for both of those topics to not be in our district. Answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so grades 6 through 12, there were that group were a smaller group to vote, and again, this was a vote by digital surveys, and we only allowed those students, the teachers that were actually teaching English language arts in the high schools and middle schools, grades 6 through 12. And their vote was not as close. They were close, but it wasn't a tiebreaker or close as the one previously mentioned. Therefore, we were going with HMH by the votes of the stakeholders in the secondary fields. So HMH is the recommendation for grades 6 through 12. You have any questions?
Okay, board, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion, a second. Questions or further discussion for Dr. Poe?
The other question I got is that, with this two different, would there be shared rigor continuity going from the elementary to the 6th through
Well, our based on what research says and what we're planning to see for our students, you said it right. The rigor will be moving from 5th grade to 6th grade. If the rigor will be, our kids will be better prepared once they get to that grade level to make sure they're reading to learn, and they're the content level that they're required of them to move to 6th grade. That transition will be easier for them. So the continuity will be we're making sure that it would be a seamless transition, but a stronger continuity for our students. And I also want to add this part too. Because of this change, and we remember last year we had math adoption. So we have teachers that are teaching in the elementary world. They're teaching reading and math on 2 new programs. There are a lot of PD and professional development needed for those teachers. So we're planting the seed now. I had one teacher, one principal ask, how fast can we get trained on this program? And our response was, if and when the board approves it, the next day there'll be training. I have gotten principals already, they're going to different sites as soon as, if this gets approved. Our support is behind the teachers and the administrators and all of our staff that support this work to make sure it's successful. And we're not building the plane while we're flying it. We're doing it early, so August is already embedded in practices and the plans are already laid. That's our goal.
So how do they get trained, or what's that process?
Say it again.
Training, how does that occur?
The training, okay, so when you purchase adopt a product, which is this program, the professional development is already part of it, and what I did was added more. Each one of our schools will have a coach from that company to support them for a year, but also I'm a believer in, we can see it in the book, but we want to see it in action in places where it's successful. We have a meeting in the morning with the vendor to talk about the places that for PD, but places that my team can go visit, but places that the teachers and the principals can also visit, and they can start learning the program in the buildings where it's being successful. So a job on the job training. So that's what we're trying to do, not the sit and get. It's actually hands-on doing it. In order for practice to be permanent, they have to do it. So it's going to be hands-on work.
So since they've helped to select the book, we've got buy-in from them, that they realize it's
We're using this word, and I'm old, so we've been using buy-in for a long time. So I talked to Dr. Derry about this. We're not buying in. We're being committed. So we're committed to this work because we don't want to get bought out, because we want to make sure we're committed. And everybody on the call, I think there probably on the call was like 36 people. They all committed, and I made each one of them talk about their commitment, and they all committed that they're going to be TCS committed to make this work. And that's our goal.
So how much additional on their workload? So when they're doing this summer, this is primarily one of their focus? training?
Dr. Daria has charged that this is one of we're outlining our focus areas for next year. This is one of the top things because it falls under the literacy and exactly RB3, and that's been one of our focus areas anyway. Therefore, that is our main priority is numeracy and literacy, and we're making sure we're supporting both of them. So that will be our focus and not adding anything else on top of it. So during the summer, we've already outlined what PD looks like and how to support our teachers. And we had some schools ask for those first days in August to make sure that they are held for PD instead of making them do things during the summer. So we're trying to be as flexible as possible to make sure what works for every school, differentiating the learning, but the impact on their what they're currently doing, we're trying to make they're teaching standards. And this is teaching standards. However, planning is so key, and we want to make sure the emphasis is on we have to plan for success. So starting this seed and planting the seed in April, May, June, and July is making it easier for them. So when August comes, our goal is making sure they're not overwhelmed, but it's something different. And we know anytime there's something different, there's opportunities for being uncomfortable. So that learning zone and uncomfortable zone will be happening. So we're going to make sure we're supporting them, but along the way, we know there are going to be kinks along the way.
I asked him all my questions.
Why you didn't ask me?
And Amplify, CKLA.
Yes, sir.
CKLA was the original recommendation by Alabama State Department of
It
Education.
was, originally we had the task force was charged by the state because of the Literacy Act. And when they did their vetting, Amplify was the one they chose. Open Court was added to the list, but then when it went to the adoption list, Open Court was taken off the list and ended up being only one because Open Court's date was out of range. It was 2016 or 2018, I can't remember, but it was outdated. Therefore, it was taken off the list for the state adoption list, but it was still on the list for the Alabama Task Force. So the reason we had two.
And you said our third graders, once they're adopted, it cannot be retained.
No, ma'am. If we don't adopt these two programs, like say we decide to go with Charlie Brown program, that program is not part of the Leadership Task Force approved program. Therefore, if a child was in third grade and we were teaching the Charlie Brown program, and that child was retained, or we tried to retain them, by law, that we could not be. There's no grounds for us to do it. If that parent agreed to it, okay, but if the parent challenged us, by law, the law doesn't support us unless we are following the guidelines by the state of Alabama. And those are the only two that are required by the state of Alabama.
I just want to say, we are thankful that you're on that task force, that you're working so hard on the task force and so close to what's going on, and to make sure that we at Tuscaloosa City Schools get firsthand knowledge of what's going on. And we just appreciate all the hard work and time you put into this.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Pope?
Thank you.
I'd be remiss to say, not saying, it's been interesting throughout this entire meeting. We've talked about National Board Certified teachers, we've praised them. We've talked about a local company coming to help us with signs and color. Now we're talking about basically a group of teachers that split 50-50 down the middle, yet at the end of the day, 100% of them came forth and said, we're going to take the little tougher model and we're going to make it work, and we're going to make it work to the benefit of our students. This entire meeting seems to focus on the importance of our teachers and the depth of what they're doing and the commitments that they're making just across the board in every department. And I realize the sign thing didn't have anything to do with it, but it's another example of the community coming together, the teachers, the groupings, the work that you as department heads are putting in. I mean, things are going in a really good direction. And you know, the backbone of this, I think, is our teachers. And they're, again, through National Board Certification, through this additional learning, and they're continuing to step up and push for the benefit of our kids. And I'm rambling, but you get the point of what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Our teachers are incredible.
They are. They're incredible.
Well said.
Thank
No,
you.
sir. Yes. You have any more questions, Mr. Simmons? Okay, thank you, Dr. Pope. I'll call for a vote since Mr. Simmons is getting antsy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That will be approved. Thank you, Dr. Pope.
Thank you, Dr. Pope.
Item 12, we have no unfinished business to attend to. General announcements, board work session next Tuesday, correct? At the Regions Room. Other than that, anybody have an announcement? Yeah, there is a holiday on the 11th, which is a week from yesterday, so Monday, right?
Learning this Friday and then a holiday that Monday.
Okay.
And right now, I'm sorry.
We'll stand adjourned.
Right now, the weather, we're watching the weather, but right now we're being told it's elevated, but we think we were not in the position we've been in the time past.
That's for tomorrow.
Oh, dairy. Dr. D. No.